back dito sa panibago na naman nating aralin. At this moment, ang pag-uusapan natin ay ang Module 3, Solving Quadratic Equation by Factoring. Pagkatapos ng aralin ito, matutukoy ninyo ang mga iba't ibang mga konseptong kinakailangan para ma-solve ang isang quadratic equation gamit ang factoring. Pero bago ang lahat, kailangan muna nating pag-usapan ang tungkol sa factoring. Ano nga ba ang factoring? Ito ay proseso ng pagkuha ng factor ng isang number o ng isang expression. Kung inyong matatandaan, ang 2 times 3 equals 6. Ang prosesong ito ay tinatawag na multiplication. Ang 2 at 3 ang tinatawag nating mga factors. At ang 6 naman ay ang kanyang product. So sa factoring, babalitarin lamang natin ang prosesong ito na kung saan, given yung product, kukunin natin yung factors. At yan ang tinatawag na factoring. Ito ang different factoring methods in solving quadratic equations. Una, common monomial factoring. Pangalawa, factoring quadratic trinomial, na kung saan nahati ito sa dalawa, perfect square trinomial at ang general trinomial. So sa common monomial factoring, para tayo makapag-solve ng quadratic equation gamit itong common monomial factoring, we need to recall the process of prime factorization, factor 3, and the other factoring methods. Ang goal natin dito ay para may labas natin ang greatest common monomial factor of each term of the given quadratic equation. Halimbawa, meron tayong 2x squared plus 4x. So ang gagawin natin dito ay paghihiwalayin natin ang quadratic term na 2x squared at ang linear term na 4x. Pagkatapos, ifa-factor out natin ang bawat terms na ito. Ang 2x squared ay katumbas lamang ng mga factors na 2 times x times x. Samantalang ang 4x naman ay katumbas lamang ng mga factors na 2 times 2 times x. Ngayon na factored out na natin ito gamit ang factor 3 or gamit ang prime factorization, ang susunod natin gagawin ay ibababa ang common factors na meron sa 2x squared at sa 4x. At yan ay ang 2 at saka x. Itong 2x dito sa baba ang ating greatest common monomial factor. Ang natitirang x plus ang natitirang 2, ito ang bubuo ng ating tinatawag na other factor. Sa makatwid, ang 2x squared plus 4x, once ginamitan ng common monomial factoring at magiging factored form, ito ay magiging 2x times x plus 2. In short, greatest common monomial factor times the other factor. Ngayon, paano natin ito magagamit sa paghanap ng value or values ng x ng isang quadratic equation? So, ito yung halimbawa natin kanina, dagdagan lang natin ng equals 0. Same process, paghihiwalay natin ang mga terms, ang quadratic term at ang linear term. Pagkatapos, kunin natin ang kanyang mga factors. Ang 2x squared ay 2 times x times x. Samantalang ang 4x ay 2 times 2 times x. At kukunin natin ang common factors ng dalawang terms. Yan ay ang 2 at ang x. At ito ang ating greatest common monomial factor. The remaining factors will form our other factor, and that is x plus 2. Ngayon, kapag i-rewrite natin ang ating quadratic equation na 2x squared plus 4x equals 0, ito ay in the form of 2x times x plus 2 equals 0. Apply now the zero product property. Bakit natin i-apply yan? Kasi ayon sa zero product property, kung ang AB or A times B ay equals to 0, ang ibig sabihin daw niyan, yung A ay 0 o kaya naman ay yung B ay 0 or parehas silang 0. So we can say that 2x is equal to 0 and x plus 2 is also equal to 0. Solving it further, we'll have 2x equals 0 divided by 2, and therefore our first x or value of x is equal to 0. Dun sa kabila naman, yung x plus 2 equals 0. So applying addition property of equality, magdadagdag tayo ng opposite value na kung saan matatanggal yung ating positive 2 na kasama ng x. So kung nagdagdag tayo ng negative 2 sa left side ng ating equation, ganun din naman sa ating right side of the equation. Therefore, we will now have our x is equal to negative 2. Therefore, the zeros or the roots or the values of x of our quadratic equation are 0 and negative 2. Dito naman tayo ngayon sa factoring quadratic trinomial. Gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, meron tayong dalawang quadratic trinomial. Ito ay ang perfect square trinomial at ang general trinomial. So paano nakukuha ang perfect square trinomial? Magbigay tayo ng halimbawa. Meron tayong dalawang binomial na magkapareho. After using FOIL method, ibig sabihin, i-multiply natin yung dalawang binomials na yan. Magkakaroon tayo ng mga terms na x squared plus 3x plus 3x plus 9. At pag sinimplify natin yan, magkakaroon na tayo ng perfect square trinomial x squared plus 6x plus 9. Paano naman nagkakaroon ng general trinomial? Halimbawa, meron tayong dalawang magkaibang binomials, x plus 2 times x plus 3. Again, pagkatapos gamitin ang FOIL method, magkakaroon tayo ng mga terms na x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6, and simplifying it further, magkakaroon na tayo nitong general trinomial x squared plus 5x plus 6. Sa makatwid, ang perfect square trinomial ay magmula sa dalawang binomial na magkapareho. Samantalang ang general trinomial naman ay magmumula sa dalawang binomials na magkaiba. Now reversing the process, meron tayong trinomial that after factoring, makukuha natin yung mga binomials kanina. So una, pag-usapan natin ang perfect square trinomial. Here are the steps on how to determine the factors of quadratic trinomial, that is perfect square trinomial. But first, we should know how to determine whether a given trinomial is perfect square trinomial or just a general trinomial. First step, identify whether the quadratic term and the constant term are perfect squares. So, anong ibig sabihin nito? Dapat yung constants at saka yung ating leading coefficient ay mga perfect square. In this case, our constant is perfect square number, which is 9, and 1 is also a perfect square number. So, ibig sabihin nito, may posibilidad na ito ay perfect square trinomial. Hindi kasi lahat ng ganyang forma ay perfect square trinomial. Kailangan din natin consider yung ating b or yung coefficient ng ating linear term. So if the answer for number 1 is yes, then proceed with step number 2. Determine if the value of b is equal to twice the square root of the constant c. Ibig sabihin, kunin natin yung square root or yung positive square root ng ating constant. Positive kasi yun yung nakalagay dyan. So the positive square root of 9 is equal to positive 3. At sabi dyan, dapat equal sa twice the square root of the constant. So i-multiply natin ng 2 yung positive 3. So ang lalabas na value is positive 6. Ngayon, kung itong value na ito ay parehas sa ating b o yung coefficient ng ating linear term, then we can proceed with step number 3. And that is, the factors can now be determined as x plus minus h squared or x plus minus h times x plus minus h, where x is the square root of our quadratic term and h is the square root of the constant. So, pwede natin i-rewrite ng ating mga factors are x plus 3 and x plus 3, or the quantity x plus 3 squared. Let's have another example. 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. So, alam natin ang a is not equal to 1. So, ito naman yung ating step para dito. Identify whether the quadratic term and the constant term are perfect squares. So, gaya ng steps kanina, na kung saan ang a is equal to 1, i-determine natin kung yung ating quadratic term at ang ating constant term ay mga perfect squares. So, sa case na ito, ang 4x squared at saka ang positive 9 is perfect squares. So, step number 2, determine if the value of b is equal to twice the product of the square roots of the constant and the square root of the leading coefficient a. So, makatuwid dito sa process na ito, kunin natin yung square root ng ating constant. Bakit negative square root? Kasi yung ating middle term is negative. Tama. Magbe-base tayo ng value dun sa ating middle term, which is the linear term. Then, kunin din natin yung square root ng ating 4, which is our leading coefficient. So, positive square root of 4 is positive 2. Sabi dyan, product of the square root of c and the square root of a. So, multiply natin ang negative 3 at saka ng positive 2. Ang lalabas is negative 6. So, meron din yung word dyan na twice the product. So, ito times natin yan ng 2. At kung magkapareho siya dun sa ating b o yung coefficient of linear term, pwede na tayo mag-proceed sa step number 3. Pwede na nating express as factors, kung saan ang mga factors na natin is 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3. Remember that perfect square trinomial, parating pareho yung mga factors natin. Now, applying these concepts in solving quadratic equations. For example, x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 0. So, first step, i-determine natin kung ang ating leading coefficient at yung ating c or yung constant ay mga perfect squares. In this case, they are perfect squares. Then, so after getting the square root of c, that is positive 3, kasi base ito doon sa ating middle term, times 2, lalabas is 6. So, pares siya sa ating b. Ibig sabihin, that is perfect square trinomial. In that case, pwede na nating express into factors. X plus 3. Applying the zero product property, we will now have these answers or the solutions of our quadratic equation. X is equal to negative 3. Another example where a is not equal to 1. 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 equals 0. First step, determine whether a and c are perfect squares. In this case, our a and c are perfect squares. So, negative square root of 9. So, negative because ang ating b is negative. So, that's negative 3 times square root of 4, and that is 2. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, and multiply natin sa constant na 2. Ang lalabas is negative 12. Parehas siya ngayon sa ating middle term. Ibig sabihin, perfect square trinomial pa rin siya. Sa madaling sabi, madali na lang nating express ang kanyang mga factors, which are 2x minus 3 and another 2x minus 3 equals 0. Remember, it is quadratic equation. Now, applying the zero product property, applying the addition product property, now applying the multiplication property of equality, we will have now the values of our x, 3 halves. Dalawang 3 halves. Paano naman kung ang given ay general trinomial? So kung matatandaan kanina, ang first step sa pag-determine kung ang trinomial ay perfect square trinomial o hindi, ay dapat yung ating A at C ay mga perfect squares. Sa case na ito, yung ating A is 1, a perfect square, while C is 6 and that is not a perfect square. Sa makatwid, pwede natin i-determine kung pwede siyang isolve by general trinomial. Now, these are the steps on determining the factors. Una, determine two factors of the constant C that when added, it will result in the value of B. In this case, 6 times 1 when we add is 7. 3 times 2, 6. When we add 3 plus 2, 5. Another, negative 6 plus negative 1 when we add negative 7. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. When we add is negative 5. Take note, our middle term is positive. So these last two combinations are not feasible. Ngayon kung titignan natin, sa apat na kombinations na yan, yung pangalawa ang may kapareho ng value dun sa ating B. Therefore, let's proceed with step number 2. After determining the two factors, express it in its factored form. X plus minus h times x plus minus k, where h and k are the factors of C. Kaya nito, x plus 3 times x plus 2. Now applying this concept in solving quadratic equations. X squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. So kanina, bibigyan na tayo ng halimbawa at nalaman natin na ang kombinasyon ng 3 and 2 ang tamang kombinasyon. So ito na ang ating quadratic equation in factored form. X plus 3 or the quantity x plus 3 times the quantity x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now let's apply the zero product property. So x plus 3 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. Removing the grouping symbol, then applying the addition property of equality will lead us to the value x equals negative 3 and x is equal to negative 2. Therefore, the solutions or roots are negative 3 and negative 2. Solutions because these values will make our quadratic equation true. Another, how to find the factors of quadratic trinomial, that is general trinomial if a is not equal to 1. For example, 10x squared minus x minus 2. Take note, our C is negative 2. Let's find its factors. So the possible combinations are 2 times negative 1, still negative 2. 1 times negative 2, that is negative 2. Negative 2 times 1 is still negative 2. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Another one to take note is our A, that is 10. We're going to find the factors of 10. So we have 10 times 1 and 5 times 2. Now making combinations out of these sets of pairs, we'll have the following combinations. As you can see, on the first pair from negative 2, we have 4 sets, while the second one we have 2 sets. If we multiply 4 times 2, that is 8. So kung magkaroon tayo ng 8 dito na pairing. Kung titignan ninyo, yung 2 i-pair natin sa 10, yung negative 1 i-pair natin sa 1, and so on and so forth. After which, we apply the indicated operation. So first set, 19, 8, negative 19, negative 8, 8, 1, negative 8, and negative 1. Alin dyan ang kapareho ng ating B? So, tama. Ang nasa baba. ang kombinasyon na negative 1, 5 at saka 2, 2. So paano natin gagamitin ito para makuha ang mga factors? So ganito lamang. Kung ang ating C is negative, ang pairing natin sa ating grouping symbol is positive, negative. Tandaan, kung negative yung ating C, ang pairing natin is positive, negative. Kung positive naman yung ating C, ang pairing natin is either positive, positive o kaya negative, negative. Magiging negative, negative lamang yung pairing natin kung ang ating B is negative. So, magkakaroon tayo ng additional lesson for that. Abangan nyo lamang. Ngayon, ang 5-2 pairing natin, ilalagay natin dito. Tapos ilalagay natin yung X. Pagkatapos naman yung negative 1 at saka 2, ihanap lang natin. Kung titignan ninyo, yung positive 2 natin galing dito sa positive. At yung negative naman galing siya sa negative 1. So, ganoon lang siya kadali. Now, how to apply these concepts in solving quadratic equations where a is not equal to 1? For example, 6x squared minus 11x plus 3 equals 0. So first step, we need to find the pair of factors for positive 3. So these are positive 3 times positive 1, negative 3 times negative 1, 1 times 3, and negative 1 times 3. After which, kunin naman natin ang mga pair of factors na ating A, which is 6. And these are 6, 1, and 3, 2. So 4 sets times 2 sets, meron tayong 8 combinations. So 3, 1, 6, 1. Negative 3, negative 1, 6, 1. 1, 3, 6, 1. Negative 1, negative 3, 6, 1. Next, 3, 1, 3, 2. Negative 3, negative 1, 3, 2. 1, 3, 3, 2. And last, negative 1, negative 3, 3, 2. So after writing all these 8 combinations, i-apply lang natin yung indicated operation. So 3 times 6, 18. And 1 times 1 is 1. So 18 plus 1 is 19. Pangalawa, negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. While negative 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So dalawang negative. Negative 18 plus negative 1 is negative 19. Next, 1 times 6 is 6. While 3 times 1 is 3. So 3 plus 6 is 9. So, bilisan lang natin. Pwede nyo gamitin yung calculator niyo at makukuha kung tama yung mga sagot na yan. Kung may mali, just comment down below. Ngayon, ang goal natin dito, yung value dapat na lumabas dyan ay kapareho ng ating B. Ano ba ang ating B? That is negative 11. Asan dyan yung pair or merong negative 11? Tama. Nandyan siya. So, ang gagamitin natin pairing ay yung 3, 2 at saka yung negative 3, negative 1. So, unahin natin yung 3, 2. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Na kapag ang ating C is positive, ay pwedeng dalawang positive o kaya ay dalawang negative. In this case, dalawang negative. Bakit? Ang ating B is negative. So, yung 3, 2, susulat natin dyan. Tapos yung ating variable, which is x. Ngayon, paano natin malalaman dyan kung anong negative ang ilalagay natin sa 3 or dun sa 2? Dito, baliktaran tayo. So, kung si 3, prepare natin kay negative 1. Si 2 naman, prepare natin kay negative 3. Hindi yung kasama niya dito sa addition. Tandaan, multiplication na tayo dito. Now, nilagyan lang natin equals 0 kasi quadratic equation siya. Then applying the zero product property, then after which, now we will have this. Let's solve now for x. Apply the addition property of equality. Solve further. Then apply the multiplication property of equality. And we will now arrive at these values of our x, 1/3 and 3/2. Therefore, the solutions or the roots of the quadratic equation are 1/3 and 3/2. That's it. Now try answering your activities from your self-learning modules or from your learning activity sheets. Kung meron kayong katanungan, feel free to comment down below or email me. For our next lessons, Module 4, Solving Quadratic Equation by Completing the Square, and Module 5, Solving Quadratic Equation by Using the Quadratic Formula, just see the link in the description below.